for ambiance.
Okay, so I was planning to do like a dedicated video on Izotope Trash and comparing it to Roar and Hybrid Reverb and like, you know, making the same kinds of sounds. But I got a little carried away with the demo project. So I made a whole track, and we're going to break it down in this video. There is a little bit of the Trash Compactor, which is a rack that I made, which is on my gumroad right now. You can go pick it up, and it may or may not have some cool impulse responses. Don't worry about it. So yeah, we'll cover that stuff first, but then we're just going to do a whole track breakdown because there's lots of cool stuff. So yeah. Okay, so this project started with this track here, which no longer has Trash on it, but I've got the Trash Compactor, which I guess is what I'm calling it. So I have them flip-flopped, so the convolutions first and then Trash. Trash is doing a couple of interesting things, but this sound is this. And originally, I think it sounded funny originally. Yeah. So yeah, this is just like an FM thing. It's not super complicated. And then yeah, it's going through the Alston, which is an impulse response from Trash 2 and Trash 3. And then just some noise and tube saturation and a limiter at the end. And it sounds like this, which is hella sick. And then it's going into a clipper and some extra stuff. So then later on, I have a different version of this same sound where I put an amp on it. Yeah, this guy. I put the Trash Compactor on first and then dialed in my amp settings from there. So it was basically already going through processing, and then I kind of dialed in the amp to figure out like what I wanted it to sound like. And we ended up with that, which is super sick. And then I have a bunch of like EQ and like, is it dynamic stuff? Yeah, so this is like that fundamental frequency that I was just kind of attenuating a little bit because it was a little much. And then clipper, limiter, compressor, I mean, just all sorts of... I have multiple reverbs on here. Why do I have so many reverbs? So many reverbs on this sound. Sounds cool. And then the other thing that I used the Trash Compactor on was this bass here. Let's mute the vocals. So this is the Rose bass that's in the demo project for Live 12 by Chuck Sutton, who rips, by the way. And then I'm running it through a few stages in multiband. I'm running it through some multiband with a few different things. I just kind of goofed around until it sounded cool. And then this is another interesting thing that you can do with this thing. So Hybrid Reverb, if you can enable this stuff, and you can control the size and decay of the IR, which sounds like this. You can get some cool sounds with that. The problem is you can't automate them. They're not automatable. And also, I mean, you can kind of hear it. Like it crackles a lot. Which is not ideal, but what I ended up doing with this bass is I resampled it and then just increased the size for this section right here. So let's listen to it first. A little throw to delay. So it, yeah, it's just a resampled version. But what I did is I ran it through, I added some erosion to add a little bit of extra like intentional distortion. And then I used, this is just a preset for vocoder that's just self-modulating that I use for basses and stuff. So I pulled out where those clicks were coming from and then just kind of shaped it a little bit more, like without this. Like you can hear all those crackles. And yeah, it's way cleaner. And then I automate the formant there. And then drops back into the build. So yeah, I do that in a couple spots. There's some automation on the bass, kind of jumping octaves and stuff. So that's the main Trash related stuff. Also, this is kind of an interpolation. If you recognize what it is, post it down below. So sick. Let's talk about this sound, because this is a combination. So polywhirl is just from the previous video that I did, but this yoink, the yoink is important. So I spent a weird amount of time on the yoink. It's just an operator patch. Yeah, so it's in just the full FM mode here, and then I just played around with these settings. 16 worked the best, right? So that just kind of hits on the downbeat. Yeah, so this is a excellent sound loop. Just split octaves, and there's a little bit of auto pan that just pops in. And then I pitched a couple things here. I use a lot of excellent sound stuff. I got their sound packs recently, and they're good, and I'm just using them. I don't know. But later on in this second section here, let's lead into that actually. So I made this build going into the second drop, and the fill that I used building up into it had a rhythm to it that I really liked, so I just kind of kept it going. This is hella sick too. So the drifty is just a drift synth going through amp and roar, polynomial. Am I doing anything fun? Yeah, so I'm doing the same thing I do with polywhirl, where I'm just basically modulating the amount of the polynomial, and then it's going into some noise. I think that just sounds really cool. What does this sound like without all this? Nice. So yeah, I'm changing the detune of the second oscillator. So when we hit this section here, and that was just mimicking the, well, that sounds kind of gross and liquidy, very slippy. So the other thing that I'm doing here is, so I was kind of having this battle between the vocal and this drifty synth thing. So I put an envelope follower on the vocal and then found the main fundamental parts of the vocal here, and then just kind of dragged or copied it over to drifty here, and then it's, so I could have both of them playing at the same time and they're not like getting in the way of everything. So that's pretty cool. I think that's probably my favorite part of the track, actually. And then back into the beginning part. Except I carried over the drifty synth there. What else cool do we have going on? The sub is just a sub, nothing fancy. Chords. Yeah. So this is the, I recreated the the synth sound. Here, I have to enable a couple of things. Pull that one down. So this is, so it's from a Sam Smith song called Desire. If you've heard the song, I don't know, you can look it up. I just kind of copied that. These are from Serum. These wavetables here are from Serum. I just copied in. But that's what the synth comes from. And then... so yeah, the other thing that's happening here, we have a little bit of saturation, multiband saturation going on. I'm not using the low band. So this is Slurm FX, which is just Serum FX essentially, but just all stock stuff that I made a while ago. I don't know, I can probably post the Slurm FX on my Gumroad because I have a Gumroad now, and I'm gonna start posting a bunch of nonsense on there. And the blips. Yeah, the blips. So this is just the chips, the chip thing, and the chipperino in Meld. Not really doing anything that fancy. Why are you not armed? Arm. Same thing, probably pretty similar multiband stuff, yeah. And then Slurm FX again, and then I'm kind of shaping the EQ. But what did I do here? So yeah, it's just climbing, getting higher. I thought that was really nice. That added a little something special. What else haven't I talked about? Of course, the drums. Somebody commented on my last video and was asking about the drums, which I do work hard on my drums, and I'm pretty happy with how my drums are these days. Let's move to... So, drums. So I have two different ways that I process my drums depending on, I guess, what I'm going for. So I have this one, which is drum bus, the glue compressor, and then just a clipper. So I don't like using the drum bus as far as like as a drum bus. I don't like using it with any of this stuff. I might push the drive up to like 10, but I leave everything to a state where it's affecting the signal the least, but it still affects the signal. Yeah, we'll just A/B it on and off. So if you listen to the kick, it adds this like mid punch, which is really nice for some things, but generally what it ends up doing is I have to turn the kick down a little bit, which means I'm pulling the low end down as well to compensate for the mid boost. So I end up with a lot less balls in my drums. So in this track, I didn't really want that. I wanted to make sure I had enough low end. So I'm doing just the glue and then a clipper. It's set up like this. That's kind of where I find the best like taming of like the low end of the kick so that it's not like too long, and then, you know, letting through the attack. I just realized I forgot to reset my ratio on the glue compressor for my drums. I was goofing around with it and I cranked it up to a ratio of 10. That's not normally where I have it. It should be at 4. I mean, it sounds okay. So my drums are grouped in a particular way. The dupe kick is just a duplicate of the kick, but this one's not going to the sidechain. So if I want to do like big 16th note rolls and builds and stuff, it's not actually compressing anything. And then I have a kick and snare group, which is kick, clap, snare. Usually I have them in like drum racks, so I can just kind of cycle through a bunch of different sounds. I think I'm using the hydrate clap. And then, but I just kind of swapped these out for the specific drums that I wanted. And then they're being processed. Let's actually talk about the snare. So the snare is just a percussion sound. If I bypass, actually just the roar. Yeah, so it's just adding some like oomph. And I'm pushing a resonance there. It's just adding some oomph. And then I have the clap, which is just kind of filling in around the snare. So I made this kick and kick 2. I like kick 2 for making kicks. I have the duplicate kick, then I have kick and snare group, and then I have tops, which is basically every other drum related thing. Percussion, hats, fill sounds, the build loops and stuff like that. Skinny penis? Hang on, I don't remember what skinny penis is. Oh. Okay. That's skinny penis. And then, yeah, the sample that I definitely can't use is also in here. But it adds a vibe, okay? It adds a vibe. This guy right here. It's sick. Come on. It's sick. I'm going to use it. So yeah, the most important thing about my drums really is just, I guess, the way that it's processed. The different groups within the drums are processed, I guess. But also this perk group. These. So this track is only 125 beats per minute. But it feels a lot faster than 125 beats per minute. But it is pushed forward by these perk sounds. So these perk sounds happen as like anticipated notes for the kick and the snare. That's the general idea. And when you do that, the whole rhythm like leans forward and it just feels significantly faster. So that's probably the most foundational element of the way that I do my drums, and it's what gives everything so much groove. Yeah, those add a lot. So play around with your auxiliary perks, like where they're placed. Like, yeah, it imparts a groove, but it also imparts the speed and like changes the speed of the track overall. So that's kind of like the main thing, really, honestly. And then it's just the way that things are clipped at different buses. So I have a clipper on everything. The tops are also ducked, but not as much as everything else. Like it's only at like 75%. This is the best ducker, by the way. Go get it. It's the GM Audio duck. So yeah, everything is kind of just being clipped. So all of the tops, well, I guess not the tops really. They're not really being affected all that much, unless it's the builds. It's probably the builds that kind of hit the tops of those. Everything is being clipped just a little bit in stages, and then they're going to other buses, and then they're being clipped, and then they're going to the master, and they're being clipped. So it prevents your transients from getting out of whack, and then by the time you get to the last limiter, you're not really forcing it to work harder than it needs to. So that's what my squishy track is. It's just like kind of the last bit of compression and clipping. Basically everything is my drums. All of my drums are routed to the master. I have bass going to the squishy track, sub is going straight to the master, and then vocals are going straight to the master. Everything else goes to, are effects going to the master? Yeah, effects are going to the master too. So it's just the melodic things aside from the sub are going to the what would be a pre-master. And that's where I do the majority of the side chaining stuff. That's like, I just kind of get all of it there. So that's it. There's a link in the description to my gumroad, which has the Trash Compactor, which has IRs. Slurm FX is also on there, as well as a bunch of other really cool effects and stuff. They only work in Live 12, though. I have to open up Live 11 and like remake them in order for that to happen. So I'm going to do that. I just haven't done it yet. So if you like this video and you want more videos like this or like something else, let me know. Comment. Let me know what you think. Hit that. why don't you hit that like button? And just go ahead and hit that like button. Maybe smash that subscribe button. Yeah.
For sure.
Bye.
Better give it all you got. Time is ours. And I know what you want. I can be your provider. Maybe at a favorite spot in an hour. Better give it all you got. Time is ours. And I know what you want. I can be your provider. For sure. Better give it all you got. Time is ours. And I know what you want. I can be your provider.
You should hit that like button. Just hit that like button. And then maybe hit the subscribe button.